Now always remember, as we have discussed in case of ancient history, you need to have a single standard source, right? It can be Punandala here, it can be Udaan, and what do? You read the IBC or let's say Rigvedic period of Udaan, you read the Rigvedic period in the 6th NCERT, you note down all the points here, you read the 12th standard NCERT, you read the Rigvedic period from there, and you note down all the points in the Udaan. Out of the last 15 years, only 6 questions have come from paintings. So should you read a separate NCERT for painting, which is the 12th standard NCERT? Should you read? No. So that is the reason why you can completely skip the 12th standard Introduction to Indian Art Part 2. So today, let's leave all that. We'll be dealing with art and culture. So have everyone started studying this? Have you completed ancient, medieval, and all this stuff? Have you completed? No. Now it doesn't matter very much that if you have not completed ancient and medieval, okay? For the fact that even if you don't take the test during that particular time, let's say 8 is our date for ancient history. If you have not completed the same, you can take the test from 21st to January 5, because we'll be breaking between January 21st and December 21st and January 5. So you can take that test on that time. Okay. So no need to take too much pressure. This is going to be your first reading, not your particular first reading, but let's say on the prelims level, when we focus on, this is going to be your first reading. So be very calm, be very composed. No need to take any too much pressure regarding the timeline. Okay. So how to study art and culture? First of all, I won't be dealing with the very basics regarding the same, because in the first session, we discussed about how to study ancient and medieval history. More or less, it's the same, right? In case of art and culture as well, hardly 5 questions come in a year, or maybe 4 questions come in a year. Out of that, close to 1 or 2 would be something which is very hard to get, right? Which will be very hard, or at least one question, such as let's say Sangabudhi or be it any other, would be very hard to get. So therefore, you need to limit your sources. That is the most important thing that I want to say here. No need to study too much regarding art and culture. You need to limit your sources for the fact that hardly 3 to 4 questions come in case of prelims. Now, first of all, this is a PYQ pattern with respect to art and culture. So as you can see here, close to 5 questions come every year. Now, let me tell you, this is not purely art and culture. Let's say, for example, in case of 2025, there was a question with respect to Indus Valley civilization, right? It was a question with respect to the dance statue of a dancing girl. Now, is it ancient history or art and culture? Now, there is no strict specification. Okay? It can be Buddhism, Jainism can be under art and ancient history as well. When the architecture questions come, mostly we keep it under art and culture. But Mohenjo-daro, statue of a dancing girl can also be under ancient history. So there is no strict classification regarding the same. But since it deals with sculpture, we kept it under art and culture. That is why we have more number of art and culture questions. Now, coming on to the sources. Now, always remember, as we have discussed in case of ancient history, you need to have a single standard source, right? It can be Punandala here, it can be Udaan. And what do? You read the IBC or let's say Rigvedic period of Udaan, you read the Rigvedic period in the 6th NCERT, you note down all the points here, you read the 12th standard NCERT, you read the Rigvedic period from there, and you note down all the points in the Udaan. So there needs to be a single standard source, because if you only have a single standard source, then revision will be very easy for you. Now, what is a single standard source for art and culture? You can go for Udaan. Okay. If you're not comfortable with Udaan, you can go for Nitin Singhania. Nitin Singhania is one of the standard sources for art and culture. So what do you need to do? We cannot segregate or we cannot separate history from the art and culture point of view. Right. So therefore, when you study the 6th NCERT, ancient history, and 12th NCERT, art and culture, right, what do you need to do? Either you can note down the art and culture points in your standard book of ancient history. Okay. Or else what you can do? Either you can note down the art and culture elements in Nitin Singhania. Now the same goes for medieval history as well. Now in case of 7th standard, they talks about Sufism. They talks about Bhakti movement, right? They talk about all these Maharashtrian Bhakti saints, Ramanuja and Baki sub people. So what can you do? Either you can note down in Nitin Singhania all the facts and information provided in the NCERTs, all the tables and Baki sub information, or else what you can do? You can note down the same in your medieval standard book as well, be it Udaan or be it in Poonam Dalal Dahiya. Okay, so there needs to be a single source. The basic thing that you have to know is you will never be reading the NCERTs multiple times. That is why we read the NCERTs first, we take all the important points which is not there in the standard book and we note down in a single source. Okay, so what do you need to do? Either you note down all these art and culture elements in the Poonam Dalal Dahiya, or else what you can do, you can note down the same in Nitin Singhania. The better one would be to note down in Nitin Singhania. Okay, so when you read the Bhakti Saints in 7th standard, what do you need to do? You note down the Bhakti Saints information in Nitin Singhania. Okay, so Nitin Singhania or Udaan will be your single source, and you note down all these elements into Nitin Singhania. Now, what is the art and culture specific NCERT that we have? We have two books. The first one is Introduction to Indian Art Part 1, and the second is with respect to paintings, Introduction of Indian Art Part 2. Now, is paintings such a very big micro theme in case of art and culture for us to read a separate book for the same? Is painting such an important micro theme? What do you think? Is painting such an important micro theme? How many questions come in case of paintings every year? When you look at the same, out of the last 15 years, only 6 questions have come from paintings. So should you read a separate NCERT for painting, which is the 12th standard NCERT? Should you read? No. So that is the reason why you can completely skip the 12th standard Introduction to Indian Art Part 2, the Fine Arts Wala book. And one thing you can focus is this one. Introduction to Indian Art Part 1 is something you can focus. Okay. So completely ignore the Introduction to Indian Art. Paintings is not important here. This book is completely of paintings. And the Introduction to Indian Art Part 1 is something you can focus here. Clear? So what are the sources? Nitin Singhania, 6th standard NCERT, 7th standard NCERT, 12th standard Themes 1, Themes 2, and also Introduction to Indian Art would be the books that you need to refer for art and culture. Clear, everyone? Any doubts? Okay, good. Now coming on to the important micro themes. Now the first one, almost a significant number of questions have come from Buddhist philosophy, then temple architecture, you have cave architecture, Jainism, art forms, paintings, Buddhist places, and UNESCO sites. Now these are the important micro themes with respect to art and culture. Okay. So whenever you read Nitin Singhania or when you read the NCERTs, whenever any information with respect to all these come, UNESCO will not be there. UNESCO is mostly a current affairs information. But with respect to Buddhism, temple architecture, cave, Jainism, art forms, paintings, and Buddhist places come. What do you need to do? You need to highlight or underline or put it a star mark or anything. Okay, because these are the most important things. Buddhism, architecture, Jainism philosophies, and all these areas. Now, when we come to Buddhism philosophies, now how are the questions asked? You can see here, with reference to ancient India, Gautam Buddha was generally known by which of the following epithets? This was a direct question from 12th standard NCERT Themes 1. Okay. So here Buddha's other names is asked. You have Buddhist term here such as paramitas. You have earliest dharma, paramitas, you have a question here. You have a question regarding the Buddhist set here. You have again terms related to Buddhism or the philosophies related to Buddhism. So you have the concept of Mahayana Buddhism, future Buddha, again related to the sect of different Buddhism, concept of Bodhisattvas, Nirvana, hand structure you can completely avoid. So mostly when you compare the same, what do you understand? What are the important areas that you need to focus in Buddhism? Also with respect to Buddhism places as well. So you can see here, these are some of the places that Gautam Buddha has visited. Okay, in 2025 they have asked. In 2014, which of the following kingdoms were associated with the life of Buddha? Again, some of the places that Buddha have visited. 2025, they asked the same question, the repetition of the same question, life of Buddha. And in 2020 as well, they asked a question about Danyagadaga, which was a prominent Buddhist center. So in case of Buddhism, when you look at the same, what are the important areas to focus? First of all, the Buddhist philosophy and its features. Let's say, what is a nirvana? What is a paramita? What are the Ashtanga Margas, how was the life of Buddha, what are the three Ratnas, and all the four Baki sab hai na? And so that is the important philosophy and the features. Second one, this is one of the favorite areas of UPSC, the important sects. Let's say you have Hinayana Buddhism, you have Mahayana Buddhism. Now the Mahayana Buddhism can be divided into different factors. You have Madhyamiga, Yogacara, and Baki sab. Now what does UPSC ask you? Let me tell you. Let's say, for example, there was a question with respect to, if you remember, in 2023, there was a question with respect to Asanga. Then there was a question with respect to, which was the other question? Asanga. Then you have the person who wrote Nalariya Divya Prabandham, Digganaga, Asanga, and Vasumitra. So this was a question. So these were all people, apart from the person who wrote Nalariya Divya Prabandham. The other two was related to Buddhism. And they were the founders of Yogacara and Madhyamika philosophies. So what do you need to focus? You need to focus on the philosophy and features, the important sect, Staviravada or Stanakvasi or Madhyamiga, Yogacara, all these different philosophies and their basic features. Okay. You don't need to dive very deeper into what the different sects are. You just need to have a very basic idea regarding what the sect are. What is Stanakvasi? What is Yogacara? What is Madhyamiga? The basic, very information you need to have. With respect to Hinayana, Mahayana, Shvedambara, and Digambara, all these four sects, you need to dive very deeper. But apart from all these different sects, apart from these four sects, you don't need to have very deep knowledge. You just need to have a very basic knowledge and the founders. Bas itna kafi hai. Then the third important thing, the Buddhism, Jainism text and their authors. Now you have different, you have the Tripitakas and you have canonical and non-canonical text in Buddhism and Jainism as well. So what do you need to do? You need to make a list of the important canonical and non-canonical text of both Buddhism and Jainism and the person who wrote the same. Okay. And finally, you have to dive with the places associated with Buddha. Which all places did he go? And also with respect to Mahavira as well, which are the places visited by Mahavira in his time period. Now you don't need to know each and every places. Okay? You just need to know that, okay, fine, he did not go out of India. He didn't go into Afghanistan. So that is why in the question asked by UPSC, we could have eliminated Gandhara here and we could have directly got the answer here. So just have a basic idea where Buddha and Mahavira roamed around. Okay. Now with respect to Jainism as well, it's almost the same. In 2023, you can see this is a very basic question regarding the philosophy of Jainism. You can see UPSC asked about the Jainism sect. You just need to identify that Stanakvasi is related to Jainism. So UPSC did not dive very deeper into the same because for the fact that such deeper level knowledge is not needed for us. We just have to understand whether Stanakvasi is related to Buddhism and Jainism and just the founder of the sect. Only that is required for you. Now here, UPSC again have asked about the sect of Jainism, Saudharniga, Sammatiya and Staviravadin as well. Jain doctrine you can see here, Jain philosophy and about the Jain festival as well. Okay. So here Anegandavada is asked, which is a core philosophy of Jainism. Then you can see here soul is a core philosophy of Jainism. Then you have questions related to sect as well. So in case of Jainism as well, what you need to focus is the same thing. Okay. The important sects of Jainism and the philosophy and features of Jainism. And also you could learn about the different places visited by Mahavira as well. Okay? Any doubts? Any doubts with respect to Buddhism and Jainism? Now, in case of Buddhism and Jainism, you can dive deeper. Okay? If you feel that Nitin Singhania is not enough for you, you can use ChatGPT as well. You can use ChatGPT to understand the different places. You can use ChatGPT to generate the points regarding the different Jainism and Buddhism text and these authors as well. And also regarding the important sects of Buddhism and Jainism, you can use ChatGPT to generate the information. Okay, everyone? Any doubts? No. Now, moving on to the architecture. Now, in terms of architecture, let me tell you, UPC tend to ask more of a current affairs point of view. Okay. Abhi, in 2022, you can see here, the Prime Minister recently inaugurated a new circuit house near Somnath Temple. This is with respect to current affairs. Even the Chausak Yogini Temple situated near Morena. This was asked in 2021 for the fact that the old Parliament building, in 2020 was the time, during the COVID was the time that the new Parliament building was getting constructed. So at this time, the Chausak Yogini was in news because the old Parliament was inspired from the Chausak Yogini temple. So this is also related to current affairs. So whenever something comes in current affairs, let's say the Ayodhya temple, or let's say the government is renovating a temple, for example, the Kashi Vishwanath temple, you need to focus more on that. Okay. So these two are current affairs. Then what do you need to know? You need to have a basic idea regarding all the important different architectures out there and all the regional kingdoms as well. Let's say Chalukya dynasty's architecture, what was it? Guchara Pratihara's dynasties, what was this information? Let's say in 2025, UPC asked about, in mains, the UPC asked about the architecture of Chandela dynasty. So you don't need to learn with respect to prelims point abhi. Okay, you can focus on the mains point of view as well. When you study in March, or when you revise the same in February, what you can do? You can completely follow only the prelims mode approach. Abhi, what you can do? You can make a list of all the important dynasties out there and the important architectures of them, because of the fact that architecture is UPC's favorite area in mains, right? UPC asked in 2025 Chandela, 2024 they have asked about, which was the dynasty? 2024 mains, which dynasty did they ask about in mains? 2023 was Chola, 2022 was Vijayanagara, 2024 was the dynasty in South India. Anyone? Which dynasty did UPC ask about? Okay, so in case of mains as well, architecture of different dynasties is UPC's one of favorite areas. So you can make the notes for mains as well when you learn the same. So you can see here, 2019 UPC asked about Kalyana Mandabas, Sun Temples, Panchayadan, Nagara, Dravida, and Baki rest are simple questions. So mostly have an idea regarding all the important temple architectures out there. Which of the following are Sun Temples? The basic features regarding Nagara, Dravida, etc., and the important examples regarding the same as well. So what are the important areas to focus with respect to architecture? First one, in case of temple architecture, Nagara, Dravida, temples, the different features of the same, examples of the same, and you should have an idea regarding the important sun temples in India. And also one important thing, if any temples are recently inaugurated, okay, then you can focus on the same as well. This is with respect to the temple architecture, right? Now, coming on to the cave architecture or the rock cut architecture. Now, how has been the questions? In 2023, UPC asked about the stupa architecture, in which UPC have taken the direct statements from NCERT. You can see here. 2023, UPC asked the same regarding different caves, and we needed to identify which cave it was, whether was it Shaivite, Buddhist, or Jain. 2021, UPC asked about the Ajanta caves. 2016, UPC again asked about the Ajanta caves. So Ajanta is one of UPC's favorite area. In Bhubaneswar, UPC asked about the Lingaraj temple, Dhauli temple, Mahabalipuram, Udayagiri, and also in 2014, UPC have asked about one of the most famous sculptures in a particular site. For example, you can see here a grand image of Buddha's Mahaparinirvana with numerous celestial musicians was there in Ajanta. A huge image of Varaha avatar of Vishnu has his recused the goddess Earth, Mount Debu, Arjuna's penance, descent of the Gangas, Mahabalipuram. So this is how UPC asks questions. So let me tell you, Ajanta, Ellora caves is one of UPSC's favorite areas, especially Ajanta. So how do you need to learn? You need to have an idea regarding all the important cave architectures out there. So let's say where is Baja caves, where is Sitanavasal caves, where is Ellora, where is Ajanta. All the basic idea you need to have. Also, dive very deeper with respect to Ajanta, Ellora. Okay? Because this is one of UPSC's favorite area. And also, one thing you need to understand, if there is any very important structure in a cave, for example, Ravana shaking Mount Kailash, you can see it in the Kailashnath temple in Ellora. Right. Arjun's penance, the descent of the Ganges, is something which you can see in the Mahabalipuram. So if there is any particular important feature out there, then that you need to focus as well. Clear? So all the important cave architectures and also one of the most important feature or the painting in that particular cave as well. That is what you need to focus with respect to cave and Buddhist architecture. Clear, everyone? Okay. So in case of cave architecture, the cave architectures and the states which they are associated and the religion that they are associated. Second one, the important structures inside those famous caves. Ravana shaking Mount Kailash, Arjun's penance, the paintings of Ajanta, Padmavani and Bakisa. And you can focus on the Islamic architectures and features as well. Because in 2016, they asked about Baba Imam Bara. And they have also asked about Fatehpur Sikri as well. So the most important Islamic architectures in India and the basic features such as Pietra Dura, Arbisque. This is something the Lodi dynasty introduced the double dome. Lodi dynasty introduced the garden system, the Charbagh gardens. This is also something that you can go through. Okay, everyone? The Pallavas of Kanchi. Yeah, in 2024, UPSC asked about the Pallavas. So architecture, you can study or you can make notes with respect to mains as well. Abhi. So any doubts? Okay. So that is with respect to architecture. Now, this is how you have to make your notes. Okay. So what do you need to do? Let's say, for example, the temple. Name of the cave, the time period, the state, the religion, and the important description. Now, should you make regarding all the caves out there? No. Only the most important ones. Hardly there will be like 10 to 12 important caves out there in India. Ajanta, Ellora, Bagh, Baraba, Sitanavasal, Bhakti. Probably like 7 to 8 caves out there. So what do you need to do? Name, time period, location, religion, and the most important description here. Clear? Now, moving on to art and music. Now, is art and music a very important topic? Even though in the last 16 years, music pay 6 questions have come in the last 16 years. So, is it a very significant topic? No. So, in 2025, there was a question that the first Gandharva Mahavidyalaya, a musical training school, was set up in 1901 by Vishnu Digambar Pariskar. Now, this is a very hard question. Did you get it? No. Did anyone get this? Let me tell you, this was a very hard question. Second one, in 2019, UPSC asked about, with reference to Mian Tansuan, which one of the following statements is not correct? UPSC asked about the same. In 2018, with reference to cultural history of India, consider the following statements. Most of the Tyagaraja Kritis are devotional songs in the praise of Lord Krishna. Now, let me tell you, my first attempt was in 2018. Okay. And this was a question with respect to current affairs. Now, I don't remember the reason for the same, but I remember one of my friends saying to me, this is a probable question because it was the anniversary or Tamil Nadu was conducting a special celebration or something for this person. Okay. So 2018, UPSC asked because this was a current affairs question. Tanzan, this you would have got through your logic because whenever not correct is asked, you have Tanzan was the title given to by Emperor Akbar was the most specific. 2025, even if you have read Nitin Singhania, you won't get the answer. This was a very hard question in my opinion. So should we focus more on the art and culture side, music side? Even 2017, with reference to Manipuri Sankirtana, consider the following statements. It is a song and dance performance, probably. Cymbals are the only musical instrument used in this performance. So is UPSC testing your factual knowledge here, or is UPSC testing your? So should you focus too much on the musical side? Now you must be thinking, so what about mains? Because you need to have an integration preparation, Abhi, right? So have any question ever come with respect to music in the mains? Is mains a very important topic? No, mains is not a very important topic with respect to mains as well. So you don't need to dive very deep in with respect to music. Okay, you can just read the portions in Nitin Singhania in your first reading. But in the second reading, should you revise the same? No. In the second reading, you don't need to revise the same. When you read for the first time, you can read through the musical part in Nitin Singhania. Okay. Now, with respect to Bhakti and Sufi movements. Now, this is a very important topic. Now, you know that in 2022, UPSC have asked a question with respect to Ramanuja. Right. Now, why was Ramanuja's question asked? Because in the question itself, UPSC mentioned that the statue of Ramanuja was inaugurated by our Prime Minister. So that was mostly a current affairs question. Right. The statue of Ramanuja was inaugurated by Prime Minister. In the question itself, that was there. So that was mostly a current affairs question. Now in 2019, UPSC asked about Saint Nimbarka was a contemporary of Akbar. Saint Kabir was greatly influenced by Sheikh Ahmad Srihindi. Now, why did UPSC introduce the word greatly influenced? What do you think here? If UPSC wanted to make it correct, UPSC could have just introduced Saint Kabir was influenced by Sheikh Ahmad Srihindi, right? So why the word greatly there? Why the word? Because in order to make it incorrect, okay, actually these two persons have no relation. But just to eliminate our 0.1% logic, UPSC have introduced the word greatly there. So this is wrong. And usually the contemporary questions are mostly wrong as well. So here the answer was neither one nor two. But what I'm saying is, it's not possible for you to learn the philosophies of every other Bhakti saint out there. Right. Is it possible for you? Let's say possibly 13 to 14 Bhakti saints are there. It's not possible for you to learn all the different philosophies out there. So what do you need to do? You can make a list of regarding the same. Okay. So you need to make that list. So don't dive very deeper. What you need to do? First of all, the Bhakti saint. Then how does UPSC ask? Saint Nimbarka was a contemporary of Akbar. Right. Even in this question, consider the following Bhakti saints: Dadu Dayal, Guru Nanak, and Tyagaraja, who among the above were preaching when Lodi dynasty or Babur took over. So what is UPSC asking here? UPSC is expecting you to know about that time period. Saint Nimbarka was a contemporary of Akbar. UPSC is expecting you to know the time period. Right. So here, mostly you need to understand, Bijak is a composition of teaching by, say, Dadu Dayal. It's a very basic concept. The philosophy of Pushti Marg was propounded by Madhavacharya. Pushti Marg. So you just need to understand what are the most important philosophy propounded by every person. Okay. What was there? Was it Dvaidam? What is Advaidam? Or was it any other thing? The most important philosophy, the state, and the time period. Just three information is required. Name of the person, state, time period, and their most important works. But who should you be focusing on the most important case? It's the people who come in the current affairs. Probably it was their 500th year anniversary. Probably it was their 1000-year anniversary. Probably if President of India issue a stamp regarding the same. If any statue is inaugurated. This is the way it comes in current affairs. So you can give more emphasis on that. Apart from others, the Bhakti saint, the time period, the area of influence of the state, and their most important work. This is what you need to focus on. Okay, everyone? Any doubts? Okay. Now moving on, paintings. Now what about paintings? When was the last time UPSC asked a question with respect to paintings in prelims? Now the last question was in 2019. When UPSC asked about which of the following Mughal emperors shifted emphasis from individual illustrated manuscripts to album and individual. And the answer was Jahangir, because Jahangir was the most famous painter. In 2018, UPSC asked about the well-known painting Banitani. So, should you waste, and this question, the painting of Bodhisattva, this is related to Ajanta. It was because of the fact that Ajanta, when you focus on the same, definitely you will be learning about this painting. Okay, so you can leave that aside. Here, with respect to consider historical places, Ajanta, Lepakshi, Sanchi, how many of the above are known for mural painters? So here as well, what did UPC focus on? UPC focused on the caves more. Ajanta, Lepakshi, Sanchi. UPC is asking about the cave. Now, this as well, there are only two known examples of cave paintings in Gupta period of ancient India. One of the paintings is in Ajanta. Where is the other surviving paintings of Gupta paintings? So here as well, what is UPC asking? UPC is asking about that particular cave and the most important feature or painting in that cave. So when you take the paintings into perspective, only 3 questions have come. Baki the rest is with respect to Ajanta and Bak. Yeah, 3 questions related to Ajanta. Okay. So always remember, Ajanta is the most important specific micro theme. Ajanta, you can revise, you can do ChatGPT, you can get whatever sources information that you can. Okay. So paintings is not a very significant feature. So what do you need to do? Just have a very basic idea. So first of all, what do you need to do? The folk and tribal paintings, you don't need to dive very deeper. Just understand whether what is the tribal painting, what is a folk painting, and the state which they are associated. Okay. So let's say Worli painting, Maharashtra. Other painting, Odisha. This painting, let's say, for example, Madhubani painting, Bihar. Sirf itna kafi hai. You don't need to dive very deeper into the folk and tribal painting. Second one, Mughal paintings and the revolution. That you need to know. Humayun brought 2 different people here. Akbar established a different khanna for the painters. Jahangir played a significant role. Shah Jahan shifted it to pencil painting. So the evolution of Mughal paintings is something that you need to know. Regarding Rajasthani paintings, you can know about the most important feature. Let's say Kishangar painting pair, what is the most important feature? Let's say in all the other paintings out there, what is their most important feature you can know. And the final thing, you can know about the most important paintings in India. Okay, bas itna kafi hai. Let's say M.F. Hussein's 3 Horses, self-portrait by Rabindranath Tagore, Abanindranath Tagore's Bharat Mata, Amartya Sehgal's picture. So you just need to know probably the top 10 important paintings in India and painted by whom. Okay? So the folk and the tribal painting and the state, Mughal paintings and the revolution, starting from Humayun, Rajasthani paintings are the most important feature, and also one important painting also you can do. Because of the fact that in Kishangar, Banitani was the most important painting, and Banitani is known as the Indian Mona Lisa. So all these schools and they probably most important painting you can mention. But itna kafi hai paintings pe, because paintings also is not a very important micro theme. Okay, everyone? Good. Now, with respect to UNESCO, this is something you need to have a clear-cut clarity. What are the UNESCO Intangible Heritage Sites? What are the UNESCO World Heritage Sites? And you need to dive deeper with respect to each of them. There is no doubt regarding the same. So in 2024, UPSC was asked about which of the following was the latest inclusion, current affairs question. In the same 2024, consider the following properties included in UNESCO Heritage List released by UNESCO. Shantiniketan, Rani Ki Vav. How many of the above properties were included in 2023? So 2 UNESCO questions in the same year. 2019 also, which of the following was included in the World Heritage List? So whenever anything gets included in the UNESCO, UPSC tend to ask regarding the same. Okay. So what do you need to do? If ever any UNESCO site comes in the current affairs, be it intangible, tangible, or be it anything, you need to have a clarity regarding the same. And also all the other things which is already there also, you can have a basic reading regarding the same. Okay. This is with respect to UNESCO. Now, art forms and dance, let me tell you, dance is not a very significant thing. UPSC have asked about Satriya here. UPSC asked about Tribhanga posture. This is in 2013 and 2014. And this is in 2012. So the last question which came from the dance was in 11 years back. So is it a very important topic? Is it a very important topic? No. Now what can you do? When you read the same, in case of classical dances, you can dive a very bit deeper. Let's say for Satriya, it was propagated by Sriman Shankaradeva. Dive a bit deeper with respect to only the classical dances. Okay. What about the other folk dances? If you're finding it very difficult in order to remember the state in which they are associated, you can completely ignore. But if you're able to remember, let's say Gomar is related to this, Garba is related to this, other dances is related to this particular state, only the state is required. So in case of folk dances, just the name and the state. In case of classical dances, you can dive a very bit deeper, only a bit deeper, because the last question was in 2014. Now, with respect to festivals, you can see here, in 2018, Chapsharkut Festival, Chong Parga Ballad, Tangta Dance. In 2017, Shaliha Sahib Festival, Nandaraj, Wari Warkari. And also in 2014, if you look at the same, you can see here, Mohiniyattam Odisha, Garba Gujarat, Yakshagana, Karnataka. So UPSC expect us to have a basic information regarding the states. UPSC did not want us to go very deeper with respect to Garba as well, because Garba is not a classical dance. So just the state is required. Now, should you study all the festivals there in India? Is it possible for you to study? No, it's not possible for you to study all the festivals. TK. What you can do, you can use your logic there. Let's say, for example, if any Dravidian term come, and if UPSC mentions a state such as Northeast, then you can eliminate the same. So go for the word deconstruction during that time. If a Dravidian name come and it's a South Indian state, possibly you can make it correct. If a Dravidian name come and a North Indian state come, you can make it incorrect. Aise Sochna. And current affairs, if any festival come in the news, you can read about that. Baki sab nahi chahiye. Okay. Because only 2 questions came in the last 16 years. Now, how to study all this? Let's say puppetry, martial arts, folk music, theatre, folk dance. How do you need to study? Just the very basic thing. Let's say, what is that particular? Let's say Kalripayattu, Kerala, Baskafiye. If there's any most important feature out there, you can read that. Or else, what do you need to do? Puppetry, let's say Katputli, Odisha, and hand, glove, shadow puppetry, but that is fine. Martial arts, just the state and the art is enough. Folk music, just the art and the state is enough. Theatre, art and state is enough. Folk paintings, art and state is enough. Folk dance as well, art and state is enough. Just for the puppetry, what can you do? Art, state, and whether they are glove, shadow, or all the other different puppetries are there, right? That you can read. Clear? So when we go for the summary of art and culture, what are the most important areas that you have to focus? First of all, architecture, Buddhism, Jainism, and the UNESCO sites. Bhakti and Sufi, you need to make a 1-page note for the same. State, time period, region, and the most important theory or philosophy propagated by them. Paintings, no need to dive very deeper. Focus very deep into the cave paintings. Ajanta, Ellora, Sittanavasal, Bach, all these, Slepakshi, Sanchi. If there is any cave painting out there, you need to dive very deeper. In case of folk paintings, just the state is enough. But in case of Mughal paintings, you go through the evolution of Mughal paintings. In case of Rajasthani paintings, just a very basic information, and also the 10 most important paintings in India. Dance and music, classical dance, dive a bit deeper, the founders and evolution, baki sab. Folk dance, just the state is enough. Music, in my opinion, you can completely ignore. No need to dive very deeper with respect to music. First reading you can do, from the second reading you can ignore. If anything comes in the current affairs, You can read that. Indian hand handicraft, you can know, let's say if any particular thing got a GI tag status. For example, this sari got a GI tag status. Then that becomes important. Okay. You don't need to read about all the other different saris out there, all the other different things out there, Dindigul locks out there. If that comes in current affairs, if that gets a GI tag, then you read about the same. Music, I have already said. Yeah, I have already said. Now, what are the areas to skip in Nitin Singhania? Now, Nitin Singhania is a very lengthy book. Okay? Close to 300 pages are there. So, what are the areas to skip? First of all, circus, you can completely skip. And by skip, I mean, you can completely skip. You don't need to read even in the first instance. You can tear that pages out. Okay? So, the circus, you can do that. Religions, Indian cinema, calendars, cultural institutions, only if it comes in the current affairs. Okay, इसका 100th year anniversary है, इसका 50th year anniversary है, वो news पे आ गया. Let's say CBFC has been in the news recently, the Central Board of Film Certification, because of different all the other propaganda issues out there. So that is something you can focus. The Face and Festival also, it's impossible to learn about the same. If anything comes in the current affairs, you can read that, but you don't need to read the hell out of it. Okay. Now, what about the current affairs point of view? Let's say PM Modi ji inaugurates any, let's say, statues. PM Modi inaugurates any temples. President President issues any stamp. Okay? Or the Indian Post issues any stamp as the anniversary. Let's say if our president gift anything to any foreign minister or any former head of state, let's say Donald Trump visit India and Indian government gift this particular thing, let's say Aranmula Kannadi, that you need to know. And also one more thing, this have never been asked, but I feel the Republic Day tableaus also you can go. Okay. So Republic Day tableaus, you know, right? Close to 21 states are selected and they represent that culture. So you can just go through the Republic tableaus as well. Let's say, what did Manipur represent? Kerala usually go with the Kathakali and all. So if there is any particular thing, let's say if it was the 50th anniversary or something, then that particular state will be representing that. Okay. So the Republic Day tableaus also you can go through. So that is with respect to art and culture. Let me tell you, this is going to be a first reading. This need not be very prelim specific. We can go through the mains portions as well, the sources of Indian history, Bhakti sir. You can make a note regarding all the different architectures out there of different regional dynasties. But when you read for the second time in March, you can completely go with this pattern.